Hello, my name is Barry Duke. I graduated high school in 2003. I experienced a healthy dose of Republican conservative presidents and Democrat liberal presidents during my childhood and late teen years. I was a kid into a mid preteen when Clinton was in office, and even with attention deficit disorder, it's amazing how much time I took to try and understand our political system kind of outside of what our teachers were teaching us. Um, so I was in high school during the time that a bunch of my far more liberal classmates than because I would start whining and complaining when for the first time in their lives and at an age of attentiveness when they could understand that there is a popular vote, but now we're learning about the electoral college of our different states, which is supposed to make sure that individual states still hold power over an entire population, because it can be argued that that's supposed to help give power back to the people, which is what our government is founded on. So my much more liberal friends, much more liberal friends than I, in high school during the time that Gore and George W. Bush were running against each other for president, that at the time, right at the end of the election, George Bush won the Electoral College. So he won the vast majority of electoral votes that each state can give out. The popular vote of each state dictates which candidate gets the electoral votes that state is worth. The popular vote of the country currently does not give a candidate the presidency. So, in a way, from one perspective, that does force the candidates to try and campaign and win over the favor of each state in the United States, not just the population of the United States. So it forces the candidate to go and connect with the demographics across the country, because no two states are exactly alike. You got to win over the demographics of multiple states, not just the popularity of one state. Otherwise, from a certain point of view, all you'd have to do is win over the population of California, the demographic of California alone, and boom, you win the election. Okay, but that's just a perspective. That is not fact. I'm just throwing out stuff here. So in the early 2000s, it's clear, for the most part, to a group of high schoolers in my high school, that what's this electoral college thing? What do you mean Bush won the electoral college but didn't win the popular vote? But Gore won the popular vote but didn't win the electoral college? Well, shouldn't Gore be president? Which isn't what happened. And for the next two presidential terms, George W. Bush would be the president and be a two-term president. So that confused a lot of people who grew up in my generation having Clinton, who, as far as we knew, won the popular vote and the electoral college both times he ran for president. And I could do a whole separate video as to how that is supported. So anyway, it was confusing. So now we're in our junior year of high school. Maybe it was our sophomore year. And of course, it's in our school newspaper. It's in our school bulletin. It's in clubs you can go to saying, if you'd like to go to an open discussion on whether or not you think it's right that George W. Bush won the Electoral College, but not the popular vote, and is about to become president, you can come talk to this place at this time, this place. Like, there was a heavy radar on it seeming immoral that George W. Bush would get to be president based off winning the Electoral College, but not the popular vote of the whole United States. So, Barry, with attention deficit disorder, is not sitting there going, wah, Gore should be president, like what I was hearing a lot of my classmates saying. Things triggered in my brain, my ADD brain, And instead, I did research. Because, of course, I wanted to see for myself and decide for myself. Well, is this fair? Or is our system messed up? Should we do away with the Electoral College? Should we go on popular vote alone? That's a discussion for another day. So I suddenly remembered the Animaniacs President's song from my earlier childhood in the early mid-90s. And part of the song that Yakko, Wacko, and Dot sing when they get to the part about Ruthaburd Hase, our 19th president, when our Electoral College still existed, the song goes, "It's 1877 and the Democrats would gloat, but they're all amazed when Rutherford Hayes wins by just one vote." So that part of the song triggered in my brain. I was a junior in high school at the time. I dug into my junior year history book. And a part of that history book had an entire section on candidates that ran against each other, who won, and by how many electoral votes they had before when the winner was decided. And yeah, there in my history book, Rutherford Hayes did not win the popular vote, but he did win the Electoral College of our country when he became the 19th president by one electoral vote. So you guys are whining about something that happened before. They say history repeats itself. So before you go disagreeing with the system, you got to do your research to see if it's truly broken. And maybe you can use Rutherford Hayes' election into becoming the president as, see, the system's broken, it's happened before, we shouldn't allow this. Or you could say, yes, we should allow this, because Rutherford Hayes won over the demographic of multiple states, not the demographic of a few states that had larger electoral votes. Both sides can be argued. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to disagree with me. I'm not here to debate that. I'm just here to say I had attention deficit disorder. And while everyone's whining, I went and did research and found out this happened before. This is a system we set up that we've been living in for a long time. Huh. Maybe we should be talking about that instead. But this is just me spewing random thoughts for the day. If you went to high school with me back in 2003, and if you never took time to study how our electoral system works, and it's okay if you disagree with it, it's okay if you agree with it. Take time to look over those things first. And if you were someone who was whining and complaining as a teenager when Gore lost the election because he didn't win enough electoral votes, but won the popular vote and went, wah, Gore should have been president even though he didn't win the Electoral College, maybe you should take time to go research Rutherford Hayes first. And consider those things before you go whining. That's what I did. And I feel all the better for it. I'm not a perfect person. I know I'm not. But why was I the person who had attention deficit disorder taking time to open my history book and study the system and history of our country rather than standing around and whining? It doesn't make sense. Have a good day.